two major ways of describing objects, i.e. electrons in orbits in atoms. Similarly to what Newton did 300 years ago for the orbits around the sun and the cosmos or our solar system. They added the theory of probability since objects are very small in atoms and light is used to observe them. Also because of slit experiments, so it's difficult to observe small objects. The electron is 1,000 times lighter than the neutron or proton in the nucleus. Okay, postmodern psychology. Really, Immanuel Kant argued that we have limits in what we can know. We can only know psychology partially even. He limited our intellect and our sensory organs. David Hume really began the skeptical attitude in a major way. Or maybe Ghazali, or before that in, in Islam, or Kreskas in Judaism, or Galileo in Christianity. Albert Einstein really showed that we can know the world using our senses, but the sensory organs are limited as a source of knowledge since we can have things moving too fast in his theory. Werner Heisenberg, etc., showed that we can know the world using our senses, but sensory organs are limited since we can have things that are too small for our theory. Kurt Gödel argued that we have limits in what we can think and know. In a way, he limited science, not just mathematical logic, since science uses mathematics. Page 15. Okay, how does this compare to the lecture that Elvis did in Hawaii in 1973 in front of 1 billion people? Elvis did not write any of his songs himself, but he looked good, especially when he was young. He had a nice voice and could dance, etc. But this is much more complicated, and I wrote it myself. I'm just reading it. I'm just on the one, just recording it. Ludwig Wittgenstein argued that we cannot really know anything about the world. All we really know is language. School of Analytic Philosophy. Alan Turing argued that thinking can be formalized in such a way that even an automaton can carry it out, so it makes you wonder if we are also not simple automaton and have no free will. So it is really an attack on religion which presupposes free will, as we said, according to Maimonides and Einstein, but should at Kant if identify religion with morality like Jesus and Kant do. Grand unification theory. Whereas Einstein told us how we perceive the object as distorted by motion or acceleration in the theory of relativity, SI and GR, so Heisenberg told us how we perceive objects as distorted as a consequence of its small size. The uncertainty principle, and gave a theory of the uncertainty in the position of the electron in the orbit of atoms due to the uncertainty in electron position, treating electron as a particle, while Schrödinger did the same, treating electron as a wave. Max Born showed that the wave function is probability density function, and because of Dirac's work, Born's conclusion also applies to Heisenberg's matrix mechanics. Born also helps with Heisenberg with mathematics, matrices. Oh God, exclamation mark. QM is a general theory since it describes objects in orbit also, so have acceleration, but for unified theory you have to do what Einstein did for two observers or a planet or moon. Though we are outside the atom looking in, unlike GR, we are on the inside looking out of the Earth towards the star. But really GR may be the same for both points of view, since both are curved, which you'll see above. Okay, oh God, okay, exclamation mark. Physics revolution. To add a third theory of physics, question mark, since first motion or acceleration have the theory of relativity, which involves the limit of light for perception of light, involves the limits of light for perception of speed of object problem or acceleration problem. And secondly, spatial length have quantum mechanics, which involves limits of light or perception due to length, size too small or even the size too big of object. So I create a third theory, a clock theory of physics, time or duration, which involves limits of light for perception due to time of motion or change of objects duration too short or too long. Since things that happen too quickly or too slowly are also perceived with error by observer. There is a relativity version of this series which we want to know how another person perceives the same object that is changing or moving too quickly.